My name is Garrett Granley. This is my little sister. Her name's Riley. I love her and everything about her. She has a common condition called CMV. CMV is a disease that has changed our whole family's life ever since Riley and her twin Rachel were born.
CMV stands for cytomegalovirus. It's a very common virus. In fact, it's probably one of the most common viruses most people have never heard of.
If a fetus gets it during pregnancy, the fetus can be affected in several ways. The most important ways are it can cause damage to the brain, and so you can get intellectual disability, and it can also cause hearing loss and vision loss and some other things like cerebral palsy and things like that.
I first learned about CMV after my girls were born. Riley's a twin. And we knew there were issues with the pregnancy. Like around 18 weeks, there were some brain abnormalities.
I first learned about CMV in 2009 when I started dating your dad. I think it's made me aware a lot of other kids with disabilities and how to treat other kids with disabilities. And I think it's made me aware of how families have to cope with raising children with disabilities.
After they were born, they pulled Rachel into the NICU immediately because her head was just so small. And they started, running different panels on her, and they found CMV, cytomegalovirus, probably when she was 2 days old. And they pulled us into a very small room, into a very uncomfortable meeting to tell us that she was born with CMV. They tried to explain the virus to us, and they told us that for Rachel, there was going to be a 90% chance that, their words, that she would be in a vegetative state or that she would die, which was not a good day two of life with your baby. But Riley seemed fine and she seemed healthy. But since they were sharing the same apartment, for 9+ months, they figured we should test her too. And so we brought her back to the hospital. They ran the same tests, and we found out on day 7 that Riley was also born with CMV.
Some of the challenges is basically health related sometimes. Being able to move the child, sometimes they need to be on a standard, sometimes they need a bike, sometimes you need to walk them manually, sometimes just moving them around can be challenging at times.
I think what's kind of neat about kids seeing other kids with disabilities is that it makes them realize that kids with disabilities aren't necessarily scary or different. It just normalizes the disability.
I don't think I've really ever had to be up close and personal with something that impacts somebody so strongly, right? Like, I can only imagine not having complete control of my motor skills, not being able to hear, not being able to communicate, and totally dependent on other people for my own well-being. And so, like, when that sinks in, like, you have a lot of empathy for it. And when I see frustration with Riley, I think that my first instinct is generally empathy. Like, it must be frustrating to try and express something, whether it's I'm hungry or I'm in pain or I'm happy, really, and have no ability to do that. And so I think for me, it's really impacted me along those lines.
CMV, how does CMV affect our daily life? The outcomes of CMV affect our daily life significantly.
In what ways?
Yeah, in what ways? With Riley, her motor function is pretty impaired. She's not super severe. She can still do some things. She can play with toys, as you see. She can hold her own bottle, but she's pretty much what they would call total care. I have to move her around. I have to help feed her, bathe her, diaper her, change her clothes. We have to do a lot of movement related stuff with her to help her make it through the day. She also can't hear. So, that's something that we have to grapple with, is having a child who, is nonverbal. We work with different communication methods to try to understand her needs, but it's really hard. That's kind of how CMVs impact her life. Also, her twin Rachel passed away when she was 11. And before that, our lives were really impacted every day of the year, because we didn't know if she was going to get sick, would she be going into the hospital? And when she would go into the hospital, would it be a few days? Would it be a few weeks? Would she pull through? Would she come home in worse shape than she went in? So just, again, two very different ways of being impacted by CMV, and both of them are something to work through.
How has the family been impacted by CMV, in your opinion?
Our family?
Yes.
In lots of ways. One, having a child that's in a wheelchair makes it difficult to do certain things. We can't go on family hikes because it's hard to take a wheelchair on a hike. So that makes us have to be creative in terms of other events that we can do, that we can take Riley with us. So that would be one way it's impacted our family. On the flip side, you have the death of Rachel and how that has affected our family. And I think that it shows our family that life is questionable at all times, that you never know what's going to happen. Just because the girls were sick, we were more prepared and more aware that death was going to be inevitable. But it makes you realize that it could happen in a car accident. It could happen every day. So I think it has taught us to live every single day knowing that it could be our last day, and make sure that you say the right things and hug each other and love each other and care for each other, and give, at least for us, wanting to give you guys experiences in life so that you are prepared for everything.
CMV has been hard for us. It's been hard to watch my youngest sister struggle every day. It's been hard to watch my parents struggle every day because of CMV. But even with this challenging and horrible disease, Riley always has a smile on her face. A smile so contagious, it helps us forget about her horrible condition. Although Riley's movements are forever limited and restricted, she still has the ability to move our hearts in an unimaginable way every day.